What is a time signature? If I say, give me your signature, you're going to write down your name because your signature defines you. A time signature is the signature of the time. The time signature's job is to set the stage for how you're counting and how that counting affects the rhythms that you're reading on the page. It applies rhythm to time and kind of binds those two things together, so when you're reading it, it makes sense. Time signature can be very subjective, and this is something that a lot of drummers have problems with, and I see it in the comments when I look at YouTube videos and whatnot. I've seen comments on my videos where people get very confused over the time signature. You could almost count anything in any time signature. It's all kind of subjective. How it's written in music is also kind of up to you, as long as you follow the rules of rhythm and the rules of theory. Now, you can see this could get deep and this could get complicated. Just understand that a time signature defines the rhythm and the time for whatever the piece is that you're reading. Now, the first thing to understand, and this is something that a lot of students get wrong when I ask this question, time signatures have nothing to do with tempo. They have nothing to do with the speed of the beat. That's what tempo is. Tempo sets how fast the pulse or the beat is going. And it does that by beats per minute. For example, if I was here, this would be set in the music in a separate spot where it would say quarter note equals 80. That's my tempo. That has nothing to do with the time signature. Time signatures can be played at whatever tempo is dictated for that particular piece of music. And the two things are dictated separately, so keep that in mind. So now to answer the question, what does the top number, the 6 in this case, mean for the time signature? The top number of a time signature talks about how many beats are in the measure. Let me make this super clear. This has nothing to do with notes. It has nothing to do with how many notes are in the measure or anything to do with notes. This is simply how many counts are in the measure. In this case, it's 6. So one measure would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's your measure, and that's all that top number tells you. What number to count to. That top number could also be any number. It could be a 1, it could be a 2, it could be a 4, it could be a 6, it could be a 9, it could be a 7, it could be a 15, it could be 126. It really could be anything. It's kind of up to you how many beats you want to put in the measure. The most common top number is a 4. Now remember, I'm saying how many beats in a measure, not notes. Beats are just counts on a click or counts on a metronome. So the top number in this case is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, if the tempo is here. That's all that top number tells you. Let's talk about what the bottom number is. Now this is the one that confuses everybody. What this number does is it assigns a rhythm to each beat. So it connects the rhythm and the beat together. So you know what kind of rhythm is equal to the beat. Now I know that's super confusing because that really confused the heck out of me when I was first learning this stuff. But let's try to break it down in terms that you could understand a little bit better. Now to make it super simple, since we know what the top number means, I'm going to go ahead and erase that. And I'm going to replace it with a 1. Notice that gives you a fraction, 1/8. So basically that's a trick for figuring out what rhythm the bottom number is applying to the beat. In this case, the bottom number is telling you that an 1/8 note gets the beat. Now that's what it'll say as a book definition. It's what rhythm gets the beat, or what rhythm is assigned to the beat. And that to me was pretty confusing. If the beat is here, and I ask a student, what notes are these? Immediately a student will say, those are quarter notes. And that's when I bow my head and I say, oh man, you totally fell into the trap. The correct answer is, these aren't notes, these are beats. These have nothing to do with notes until you look at the bottom number of the time signature. The bottom number is an 8, so that means these are 1/8 notes. Now because these are 1/8 notes, that doesn't mean they're 1 and 2, no. It means that they're 1, 2, 3, 4. And you could keep on going to whatever that top number is, which if you remember before it was 6. So these are 1/8 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now once you have that established, that based on the time signature, the beat and the note are the same thing, now you can play 1/8 notes over that count. So 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm counting the beat and playing 1/8 notes. And that's because of this time signature. That's because there's an 8 on the bottom. Now from there, you can figure out how to count all the other notes. Since eighth notes are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that means 16 notes will go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and. 32nd notes will go 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 5 E and a 6 E and a. Now I know that's contrary to what you're used to hearing. Normally 16th notes would be 1 E and a 2 E and a, not 1 end. That's normally an eighth note. But normally you're in 4/4 time. And as I mentioned in the beginning, we were in 6/8 time. So that changes the rule. The bottom number changes how you interpret the rhythms on the page. Very, very important. So once again, to answer that question, what does the bottom number of a time signature do? The bottom number tells you what kind of note sounds exactly like the given beat. So if the beat is here, and you were to play exactly that on the drum, what kind of note is that? Well, that bottom number tells you. If it's an 8, those are eighth notes. If it's a 16, those are 16th notes. Doesn't mean they're faster, it means this is now a 16th note. If it's a 1, these are whole notes. If it's a 2 on the bottom, these are half notes. Notice the tempo isn't changing. The other thing it doesn't change is the count. There's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The bottom number is just telling you what kind of note sounds like that beat. Very, very important to understand and very, very confusing. And that's one of the things about time signatures that really gets a lot of people. So quick review. The top number tells you how many beats are in the measure. The bottom number tells you what kind of note sounds just like the beat. So based on this time signature, one measure is going to be 6 eighth notes. Now that doesn't mean that the measure can only have 6 eighth notes in it. It means the measure has to add up to 6 eighth notes. So it could be 5 eighth notes plus 2 16th notes will give you 6 eighth notes. It could be 4 eighth notes, 2 16th notes, and 4 32nd notes. That gives you 6 eighth notes. As long as all the rhythms add up to 6 eighth notes, then that measure is correct. Wow, so thank you so much for making it through that entire lesson. Hope you got something out of it. That lesson is from my Study the Drums app. You could download that app from the App Store or Google Play Store. If you want to learn drums, it's a great resource. And if you want to get deeper into just your foundation, you could take my free Drum Foundation Challenge just by clicking right there. And I hope to see you over there. So let's go ahead and test your foundation together.